What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another walkthrough on the new Shadowlands dungeons. This one's going to be on Plaguefall. This recording is actually from the KSM tournament because I haven't had any good footage lately, so I'm just going to use this. We didn't do too many huge pulls though, so I should be able to catch all the mobs mechanics. There's actually a lot of empty space right out of the gate here. You have to run a little bit before you get to trash, so that's really worth pulling. So this is the first wing coming up, and I'm going to pull a couple things together. But I'm going to explain these three mobs first. So there's packs of these three mushrooms all around here. They have varying names in the group, but the important mobs are the Stormer. He has a very high AoE damage channel that you need to stop every 10 seconds or so, I think. The Soldier doesn't do anything notable. The Fungomancer does a root on the party. So really you just want to stop this Fungal Storm. That one is an RP Storm. Doesn't actually do damage if it started it out of combat. But all the rest you need to take care of. So something I did pull into is this giant. He patrols around this area right here, like a straight line, and then takes a left around the corner into the mushroom guys. So you generally want to put him in the first pull. On live, I would do like just the giant plus 3 mushrooms as your first pull probably. Some other stuff that I'm pulling into here are the nest. This nest doesn't move. It's just an inanimate object that spawns little bugs every now and then. One of the bugs does a AoE swirly. And if you just kill it, it'll stop casting, or you can walk out of it either way. You'll see that in just a second when I unpause. Also the nest, somehow, I'm not sure yet, but applies this debuff on the screen. Go back like 1 second. So you'll see my screen get bugs on it. You see all the bugs around here? I'm putting dots on them for those listening. But there's bugs that appear on your screen, and there's this debuff that stacks on your UI. And to get rid of that, you just need to jump. So watch out for that. It does large amounts of ticking damage if you don't jump. Just get rid of it when you can. I took a poison from the wasp here. Oh, the hornet, sorry. This was a sanguine dungeon, so I put the sanguine away from the nest because the nest can't move. But I accidentally put 1 stack on it, which we had to burn through. That should be the only huge pull. I think the rest is like normal pulls for the most part. This is a normal pull, so there's a couple plague rocks in this area. These are actually very hard-hitting mobs for the tank. This guy does large amounts of melee damage. He does a humongous frontal cleave and a disease hit that reduces your stats. And I think I dodged that one, but he'll do it again. So the wing buffet is the frontal, really large. If it was facing this way still, it's about that wide. It goes for a long distance off the screen, so make sure you aim that away from the group. These 2 plague boars that we pulled in don't really do too much except hit random players nearby for physical damage every couple seconds. They're kind of like the mech jockeys from Motherlode. Yeah, be careful with these plague rocks. I wouldn't pull more than 1 at a time. This dungeon used to be really difficult on beta. I think it's been toned down quite a bit. And it's getting to the point where I kind of like it, except for the second area, which you'll see after the first boss. That trash is still pretty insane. This is also a dungeon that has a metric shitload of poisons and diseases. If you have a disease and a poison to spell, aka a brewmaster, then you're in a good spot. Alright, so this is basically the room from King's Rest. It's like a copy of the second boss room in King's Rest. There are 20 slimes, which you'll notice is far more than the target cap on most classes. And there's 2 big guys on the sides. Like Belchers, I think they're called. But you want to get rid of all the slimes first, or you can do like 1 Belcher with half the slimes. And then the other Belcher with half the slimes. What we did here in this tournament play is I actually had my hunter gather it up with Turtle so he didn't die, and then as soon as they all gathered up, he binding shotted them so that I could walk in and just press Thrash once, because Thrash is my only uncapped AoE spell as a bear, and that was actually what we had to do so that I could get Threat without Encarn. It's a Sanguine, so I'm just dragging these around. The slimes don't do a lot, except they do pulse magic damage to things in melee with them. So the first time you pull slimes as a tank, kind of gauge how high their magic damage is going to hit you, and then decide like how many you can pull after that. Because I actually, if I'm in melee range of those things for more than a second, I'll usually actually just die. So we're fighting the first Pride here. I pulled in one of the Plague Belchers. Normally you'd probably pull both at the same time, but again, if you're doing this for the first time, it's probably better just to pull one. They have a Beckon Slime is their main thing. This is the boss mechanic as well, but they spawn 3 slimes over here from the nearest side of the arena, basically. So we're closest to this side of the water, the poison water. So the slimes are going to come from that side. The only other thing the Plague Belcher does, besides melee, is this Belch Cleave mechanic, or Belch Plague mechanic, which is a cleave. It's something like this wide as a cone in front of him, so you can just simply sidestep over here where I'm going right now. Obviously, on live, you probably want to fight Manifestation of Pride by itself for a little bit before you start combining it with stuff. Pride is a pretty big challenge for the group. Yeah, so now that just the Plague Belcher is left, I'm just going to dodge the Funnel, and we're using group CCs to keep the slimes away from him. Once the slimes reach him, they heal him for quite a bit, and then make him bigger and do more damage, and cast faster. Eventually one just reached him right there, but eventually his Frontal Cleave is pretty hard to dodge if it's going really fast. There's the Belch Plague, but he's dead. So normally you'd also want to kill this guy, get rid of him, but we're in a speedrun environment, so we're going to pull the boss. Technically, you don't have to kill the Plague Belchers. You can actually fight the boss without fighting them, unlike the second boss in King's Rest. And the boss mechanic works the same way. So you have the Plague Stomp, which is new. It just knocks back. It applies a disease for 20 seconds. Here it is on my UI. You have a disease dispel at Paladins, at Brewmasters. You can dispel 2 of them before the debuff runs out on your group. Really good utility. That was just a big Frontal Cleave, just like the trash, and then he has the same Beckon Slime mechanic, except his 3 slimes spawn on the farthest side of the arena that he's on, and he spawns 1 big guy on the closest side. So I'd position him like kind of near the wall where I have him here, just on whichever wall you want to. Have 1 CC get the big slime. We had Freezing Trap get the first one. You can also paralyze, you can blind them, you can root them. Single root works as well. And then you want to either CC the 3 slimes over here, or have the group just turn and kill them. You probably want to do both on live servers. Just tell your group to kill the ads. Nothing crazy for tanks on this fight. Just make sure the boss doesn't get hit by slimes. If someone screwed up and the slimes get really close, just try to run the boss away. He moves pretty quick. Yeah, the main thing I think is just to keep these big slimes CC'd. I don't think you want to have to single target those down. I think it's a pretty good boss fight. I like this one. Notice I'm going to kill this orb with Moonfire. Feels good, man. The explosive change is so good. 1 Moonfire is all we need. So there's the second big slime. We took care of that one with Root as well. The second wave of 3 slimes is coming in. I just vortexed to be safe there. And that's it. So we're heading into the second wing. This wing is very unique. All the trash here will kill you very fast, but is also easily killed if you have good coordination. So all these packs have things like barrels next to them, or these 2 plague borers. So these guys, when they hit about 30% health, they start to explode. They start a cast that explodes in a radius around them. It's like that big from far away. We're actually going to separate these so we can use both of their explosions to kill different packs. We screwed up here. Ignore this part, but while I'm talking, you can also see there's a barrel in this pack. The neutral mob over here, the canister. Those also explode when you kill them. So the plague borers explode when they hit 30%, and the barrels explode when they hit 0%. And you'll see what we do with this plague borer here. Since all these mobs are dangerous, I think you definitely want to use all the help in this area that you can get to kill them. So we're CCing one of the plague borers. I'm going to use this plague borer to kill this 3-pack, this big guy. And if I had enough defensives, I would probably also pull that Plague Rock in. But these 2, both the Plague Rock and the Spinebreaker, are very hard-hitting mobs. In addition, these 3 slime claws hit for high magic damage when they do their tank hit as well, so just be careful. So I'm pulling them in right as this stuff starts to get low. You can see the barrels exploding and the plague boars exploding at the same time. I think I get all the mobs in both swirlies here, which makes them just melt. It's kind of like the spotter in Siege of Borealis, if you want to think of it that way. So all 5 mobs died really quickly. Then I tagged the other plague boar and I'm going to pull it into something else. And you definitely don't need to do it with this finesse. This is going to be like a build your strategy over time type thing. As you can see, these 2 mobs almost just killed me right there. This Plague Rock is the same mob from the first area. You can see it gave me that long disease on my UI up there. The rigged Plague Board is an instant cast poison application that slows the heck out of you and does high damage on impact. And it's instant, so you can't really prepare for it unless you know it's coming in advance. So we're using this Plague Board to blow up these mobs as well. I actually missed the Plague Rock with it, unfortunately. But everything else is getting chunked by the Plague Boar's debuff. Wing Buffet happens pretty often. Just try to keep aiming it away from your group. The Plague Binder there in the pool, there's a couple more of those, but they just have some nasty disease cast as well. Pretty much everything in this area gives you a disease or a poison, and pretty often. Right now I have 4 stacks of that Plague Rock debuff. This is actually pretty bad. I think it's minus 20% stats, like minus 20% of every single stat right now, because it's 5% per stack. So this is the second pack that has Plague Boars in it. This whole area, there's only 4 Plague Boars that are actually part of packs. There's 2 in this pack, and the 2 that we started with were located like right here for this. You kind of want to just divide and conquer with the barrels and the Plague Boars, and this will get easier over time. It's kind of a daunting area the first time you tank it, because you know there's a lot you could do, but you don't have like the knowledge of what all you could survive yet, and which barrels are where, and which Plague Boars you can use and all that, so just do your best. These slimes that we pulled in also do high disease damage. Just every single cast they do applies a disease that ticks for high magic damage. You can see our group is just dying. I think we actually do wipe here. Yeah, if you can see just those 4 disease stacks from the triple slime pack were chunking me for like 30% of my health for a long time. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because we do wipe and run back here. We spawned at the first area. There's no checkpoint yet. Alright, so we're back to just killing the 40% pride here. And there's a few more packs we have to deal with. Just be mindful. So we still have 1 Plague Board. I'm going to use this to blow up something. And then there's also 2 more barrels I can use. I think there's only 2 more pulls total, so I'm just going to use both for one of these. If you can use a barrel to get the Plague Boar's health going, that would set off like a really nice chain reaction. And I think my goal was actually to blow up a barrel to get the Plague Boar low, and then have that spawn a pride, like something spawn the pride early while the Plague Boar was getting low, and then the pride is also affected by all these mechanics that hurt the mobs. So if you can get a pride and a Plague Boar explosion, then that's going to make that pride super easy. Same thing with the barrels. And I don't know if I already mentioned yet, but the Plague Boar's explosion does do a little bit more damage than the barrels, although both are worth it. This is the last, well, this is the hardest pack in the area, I think. It's got another spine breaker in it, so hold this to a barrel or a Plague Boar if you can. Have your group kick the Plague Binder in. If you can see, the slime claws are casting that corroded claws on me every 10 seconds or so. It might be 15 seconds. That's another high magic damage cast. No disease application on that one, I don't think, but more magic damage. So when those spine breakers die, they'll spawn a bunch of slimes around them. I'll watch this one more time. As soon as he dies, he puts a couple swirlies out, they spawn little slimes, and you as a tank should probably run over all of them if you have the health to do it. 3 of those slimes took my bear down to like 60% there. My hunter soaked 2 over there and he almost died. So be careful of that. This is only a 13. Those will probably one-shot your DPS eventually. If the slimes get their cast off, they summon full health green slimes that were... I think they're the green slimes from the first boss room. So these are more of those slime claw mobs. You can tell they're just chunking me each time they do their magic cast. Here comes again, corroded claws. I outranged that one, but they will hit the nearest target if they don't get you. So tell your group to get out of there if you need to kite. Another one of those anti-kite mechanics that we all love. We don't actually love those. And that's it for that area. So I did avoid one patrol. There was a 2-pack with a purple slime in it. The purple slimes in this dungeon reduce damage of any mobs around them by 70%. Or they reduce the damage taken of any mobs around them by 70%. So I pulled that entire area except for the patrol that had the purple slime, basically. There's one more purple slime coming up that you'll see. My hunter died disengaging there, but this is a mini boss that's also in a gauntlet. I'm actually gonna go back a little bit. So the reason why we go this way is to get around this middle area. You might think, wow, there's canisters here, why is it skipping? But that's because there's only one mob that spawns right there, the tentacle that's worth count, and there's one more tentacle over here off screen. Those tentacles take a while to kill and they're only one mob, and I don't think it's really worth it to stop, so just go around these. You can dip into the poison pool, it doesn't hurt that bad. Just keep in mind, you don't want to get this debuff to 10 stacks. It's part of the achievement in the dungeon. Once you get to 10 stacks, you become like a Plaguefallen mob. You can't run very fast and you have like 30% reduced haste or something. It's very bad. Okay, so this is the mini boss for Rulax Blightweaver. Sounds like he's Nathanos' brother or something. He spawns plague borers. They're the same kind of plague borers as before, but he spawns them on a timer, I think every 20 seconds. They have the same poison mechanic. They almost kill me every time they do it, as you can see. But what you want to do is put their swirlies on the mini boss. I actually avoided putting them on the mini boss there on purpose because we're doing something cheeky and pulling trash from below into these guys to make the plague borers kill them. But the first time you're in here, definitely just use them to kill the mini boss. So here comes the 3-pack from down to the left is where my hunter got them from. It's got a plague binder in it. It's got one of the slime claws. There's 2 plague binders and a slime claw in that pack that we just killed. So now we're gonna end up killing the mini boss and the last plague binder. You can see the plague binder is just spamming diseases. Oh, I almost died there. Keep in mind that those plague borers slow the heck out of you as a tank. Each time they do their instant cast, if you have a poison dispel, be ready to dispel yourself. And if you have a healer that can dispel poison, tell them the same thing. So this is a good example of what you want to do with the plague borers. We actually spawned the pride at a good time here. This was the plan, luckily. But as soon as the mini boss dies, he'll stop spawning them. So luckily we got them to spawn right before he died, and as the pride was spawning from the 3-pack. So the pride spawned in the plague borers and just basically instantly dies. Which is what you want. You don't have to commit CDs to the pride, then that's good. So this is that purple slime I was talking about before. It protects mobs around it, so we're single targeting it down. And now that we're on this pack, the Covenant buff in this dungeon is Necrolord. And my bear is Necrolord. My fleshcraft keybind is down here on Shift G. And each of the 3 different kinds of slime in this dungeon, purple, red, and green, give certain buffs if you fleshcraft on top of them. So what you want to do is, after you kill a pack of slimes, and you could have done this in the first boss room as well, with all the green slimes. But whenever you kill one of those slimes, you can fleshcraft on top of it, and you get a short buff aura around you, that anyone within like 8 to 10 yards gets the buff as well. So I'll grab one of those buffs after this pack. What we did there is we double pulled by single targeting the purple slime, which protects the group. And then once it was dead, we just pulled the rest of the trash. And we pull it behind here because this is part of the boss arena. And as soon as you kill one pack on one of these 3 platforms, There's 4 platforms, but there's no trash on this 4th one. So once you kill one of the packs on these 3 platforms, the boss starts patrolling, and he goes counterclockwise around the arena constantly after that. So we pull the trash behind this mushroom tree thing so that the boss doesn't pull when he comes around. And if you look closely here, I'm going to soak these slimes real quick, but I soak the slimes, I go over to the purple slime and the red slime bodies right here, and I cast Fleshcraft, which is glowing on my UI. So if you're a Necrolord, you'll see it glow when you're near one of their bodies. You don't have to channel it fully. Well, I pull the boss, and then I go back and Fleshcraft, I guess. So I just barely channeled it for a split second, but now I have this buff, and I think it's this one right here. That's the haste aura from the red slime. So basically, if you stand in this puddle right here, you get a massive haste buff, but it hurts you a lot. But if you're a Necrolord, you can get the haste buff and just have it as an aura around yourself. And if you look at the screen right now, you can see that anyone with the buff near me is like has like a blood pool at their feet, basically, showing that they have it. So watch out for stuff like that. These buffs are pretty impactful in these dungeons. I don't think they're going to be a huge deal at first, but later on when people are doing really high keys, you're going to want every Covenant buff possible. This boss isn't too challenging. He hits the tank, he spawns a little slime that you need to soak. Once the tank debuff gets dispelled off you, you have to soak it. This is the slime injection, so I just got it. My healer instantly dispelled, spawned the slime, and then I would go soak it, but my fire mage instantly killed it. And then he also spawns one of these purple slimes again. Purple is bad. Every group, kill it, single target it down, or dot it up while they get it away from the boss like that. That's pretty high skill. I think in the first runs in this dungeon, you definitely just want to tell your group to kill the purple slime after they're done killing their bomb slime. So I didn't say anything about it, but there was a red exploding slime that spawned here at this pool, and the group's just on a timer before it goes off. So as a tank player, you got to keep the purple slime like somewhere distant away from the red slime so that it's not protected by the purple slime's aura. And then your other priority as a tank is to stay on top of this boss, because if you're ever out of range when he's not jumping around, then he'll start spam casting on the group diseases, which is like the theme of this dungeon, I think. There's no worries running through the poison like that. You can see we did that several times. So this is the second time. He only jumps across the arena like that twice, and each time he does, he spawns the plague bomb and a purple slime. Just to recap. So normally you would definitely want to kill that plague bomb, tell your group to kill it. And the second purple slime, since it's the last one, you can knock away and just CC forever if you want, like we did. My boomkin went and soaked the little slime there. He knew he would live. And we just zerged the boss down without killing either slime. Yeah, just to recap, have your group kill the red slime first, keep the boss away from it so that the purple slime doesn't protect it, and then burn the purple slime, and then burn the boss. Alright, so this is the third wing of the instance. This is just a 2-pack of mobs. This guy is an RP mob. He'll die right away as soon as you pull. This little gushing slime is one of the 20 slimes that are in the first boss room. He's pretty harmless, but he leaves a very big puddle around him if you don't have a purge when he dies. So be careful about that. These tentacles, we skipped earlier, but these are the same tentacles as before. Oh, we're also skipping this one, I forgot. But all they do really is they melee the tank, so be in range. They do a nasty cast if nobody's in range for them to melee, so someone has to tank them or be near them. And they also grip someone every 10 seconds or so. And you can stop the grip with any stun, disorient, end cap, anything but knocks because it's a rooted mob. This island is actually quite a bit of count that I just pulled into. All mobs that we've seen before, except for the sniper. Sniper is hard to see, and I'll explain more about him later because we're going to fight a couple more, but he's doing a Venom Piercer cast right now, which is like a cone frontal like that in front of him. So just be careful where you aim him. He'll shoot directly where the tank was when he started casting, so if you can, try to control where you aim the Venom Piercer, and nobody should be in too much danger. It is also a disease, so if it catches multiple people, you can get rid of the disease if you have a disease dispel. And this island's actually pretty good count. All the mobs spawn at low health, so it's a fairly quick pull normally. but it is a little challenging, so be careful here. These Defenders of Many Eyes are also new mobs I haven't talked about yet. Basically, they just cast that Bulwark of Maldraxxus. It's just a big shield that defends their defends any enemies from damage. I think it's like an 80% DR. I can't remember off the top of my head. But you can stop the shields with any stun, disorient, knock, you name it. So as a bear, I'm Incap Roaring and Mighty Bashing them on cooldown. But they're not bad. They're good mobs to pull. Yeah, so we skip most of the poison area. Fighting 1 or 2 mobs at a time is not great. And speaking of 1 mob at a time, there's an invisible guy right here that you always want to get rid of first before you go into this area. Basically, these 3 packs are defined by the mob I'm about to pull, the Ambusher. There's an Ambusher in every pack that's invisible. And both of these as well that you can't see right now. This mob is pretty dangerous for the group. So you don't really want to fight multiple of these at a time, although we're about to. We cast an ambush ability, jumps behind the tank, hits you for a lot of damage. I think it's magic damage. And then he starts casting this enveloping webbing. Alright, so we're pulling another ambusher. Alright, so the second cast is Stealthlings. This is the important part. They're about to spawn like 8 little spiders somewhere, and they're going to turn invisible right after they spawn. So you can see he cast it over here. I think it's at a random location around a player. So he spawned them next to my healer here, and they're about to all fade away, so you got to be really attentive where he puts them. As soon as they go out, you need to go stop them with something. Like, as a bear, I could run over there and Incap Roar, but mine's on cooldown. There's a lot of ways to deal with these. I think it's a pretty cool mechanic. So one thing we just did is someone put down an Ursula Vortex over here. So as soon as they try to jump, basically they cast this ambush cast and they try to one-shot someone. They all target the same player. They try to one-shot them. So if you have something like Vortex, it'll stop the jump and put them back where they were. So here they go. A lot of those actually hit me because I was too close, but the Vortex would have stopped it if I was farther. So I'm about to die here. I'm actually in my cheat death state. This is the Forgeborn Reveries because of my soulbind. I'm the Bonesmith Airmere soulbind right now, Necrolord. Which means I stay alive for like 6 to 8 seconds after I die, and I'm able to keep threat as a tank, which is a pretty good soulbind, I think. So then I finally die. I res, and we finish this pull. But yeah, watch the Stealthlings they spawn. They're the important part. The enveloping webbing isn't that big of a deal, but the Stealthlings are a huge deal. Make sure those all get stopped. Again, there's lots of Defenders of Many Eyes in these pulls. They just cast the shield. And it's pretty unfortunate that they spawn 8 Stealthlings. I really wish they would have been like 5, because some classes literally can't hit 8 targets. This is the same sniper mob as before. He does the big frontal cone that applies the disease. And we got a pride spawn here, so I'm just pulling it in. Sniper should do its frontal here in just a second. Here's the Venom Piercer. So yeah, I just sidestepped this as a tank if I was paying attention. The other thing the snipers do is they cast an interruptible cast that summons that Venom Fang mob. Those mobs don't give count. They're just annoying and soak up some of your attention as a tank. Call Venom Fang, yeah, there you go. I just kicked that. If you have a spare kick, take care of those. Which you should on these pulls. There's not much to kick. So we're just finishing the sniper. He's Venom Piercing. I'm just dodging the frontal there. That's how you're supposed to do it. We're pulling this back. So remember there's an invisible ambush here as well. Got a Defender, an Ambusher, and a Sniper. So aim the Sniper away from the group. Take care of the Stealthlings. Stun the Defender of Many Eyes when he casts his Bulwark. And that's about it. If you saw there, the Vortex took care of the Stealthlings pretty well. If you're a mage, you can Frost Nova them to take care of them. You could Ring a Piece on a player to block their jump. As a monk, you can Dragon's Breath them, you can Incap Roar them. You can use any AoE stun, of course. If you're a gamer, you could even knock them midair. Like while they're about to hit someone, if you Typhoon the midair, that would also stop the jump. But yeah, so here's the third boss, Domina Venomblade. This is a pretty tank intensive boss. She has a big tank hit, Cytotoxic Slash that was right there. It hits for magic damage and it gives you a poison. The main mechanic of this boss fight for the whole group is you always want to be stacked. If you're ever alone for, I think, like 5 seconds, you'll get cocooned, basically. It's like the Jaina raid fight from Battle for Azeroth. The other big thing is she summons 4 assassins. So this is one assassin pool right here, this web. I'll draw a circle instead. This is one circle. This is another here that you can see on part of the screen. What you want to do is break the assassins out of these webs as fast as you can. There's one mob in the center of all 4 of these each time she casts this. And the only way to get them out is to cast an AoE spell that you can basically cast at nothing. Or like drag the boss close enough to cleave off of them. Ranged DPS and healers can help you quite a bit too. If you have a hunter in the group, they can flare one of the adds out. Anyone that can drop an AoE at a long distance is really good at this. And also any tanks that have high speed, like druids or monks or demon hunters, are also pretty good. As monk, you can literally just roll through like all 4 puddles within seconds, just spinning crane kick. As druid, I run around swiping. Demon hunter, you can just leap on top of them to break them out. But typically, I tell my group I'll get the 3 closest ones and someone get the 4th one, basically. So I give myself like 75% of the responsibility because I know I can do it. And if you're a fast tank, I think you should probably do the same. Save yourself some trouble. People eventually will get good at this boss, and I don't think slow tanks will have a problem. But as you can see here, I'll just run around with Stampeding Roar on and just thrash and swipe. That's all I've got all 4. Just be careful of the overlaps. She does tank hits while she summons assassins quite often. Very annoying. As you can see, when you're solo on this boss, your screen will start to get dark. So you can tell quite easily that you're solo. When one of your DPS or healer gets the circle mechanic, tell them that they just need to move out of the group at the last second. So Cry has the mechanic here. He's going to move out. He's going to press turtle, probably. But the reason why they should move at the last second is so that they don't get stunned by the boss aura while doing their mechanic. Because basically they just walk out, they get stunned by their circle, and then once their circle's gone, someone can just go stand on them to make sure they don't get stunned again. But yeah, the main thing is just survive the tank hit and break out the assassins, and that fight is not bad. I think that might be a wipe inducer though, week 1 for a lot of groups. Alright, so this is the last area. To the right there's actually 3 slimes, 1 of each color, that you can get buffs off of, green, red, and purple. They're worth, excuse me, 18 count total, 6 count each. Something interesting about this area is, so all the rest of these mobs are not slimes though. All the rest of these are Plaguefall and Devoteds, and 1 mini-boss. So there's 2 Devoteds here to show you like what's about to happen. One of them is big and beefy and hits you really hard. For some reason is also worth 0 count. And all the little guys hit you pretty hard as well, but they're really slow. So it's intended that you kite these around, I think. And we have a boomkin, so we're pulling the whole room. Starfall hits everything. You'll see I'm staying at a range of most of these because they hit really hard. This mini boss ports around and will activate these other packs once you engage him. So we just went ahead and pulled the packs to begin with because we knew that's going to happen. He casts Pestilence Bolt on you as a tank constantly. And then he'll cast his Ghost Step, which ports him to a random Plaguefall on mob. All these guys do on-death affixes, bolstering, sanguine, explosive, well, explosive's not on-death. But you know what I mean. Bursting, bolstering, sanguine, basically. So yeah, kill these Devoted, stay out of range of all of them except the big ones, as much as you can. They hit really, really hard. And then finish the mini-boss off when you can. If you're really worried about the Plaguefall and Devoteds killing you with their melees, you can actually just run through this puddle right here. You just want to jump while you go across so you don't get the disease. But you can fight like the pack that's back here first and the pack that's back here before aggroing the hardest pack, the mini-boss. The mini-boss is the one that turns the small adds into big adds. So you don't have to worry about that if you fight them before fighting this guy. He's also a huge pain in the ass and just doesn't move unless you kick him at the right time. I'm spinning in circles in protest. Here's the ghost step mechanic. So he casts this actually pretty often while he's in the pack, but I was running around and my screen may have missed it. So he would port to a random Plaguefall in there, if there was one alive. And that's it, that's all the trash. We skipped the 3 slimes because of time. Like, this was a speedrun for KSM, so we didn't want to go way off to the right and grab those things. This is the 100% pride. But yeah, back in that area, there were the 3 slimes. There's also a portal to get out of this area once you drop down. It'll port you back up to the 3rd boss. I forgot to mention earlier as well, there is a checkpoint. Once you kill the 2nd boss, there's finally a checkpoint. I don't think there's one for the 3rd boss. Like, if we were to die here, I think it takes us back to the 2nd boss. That was the last pride of the dungeon, fighting Margrave. This is the last boss. This is a pretty neat boss fight. She's a rooted boss, so make sure you're always in melee range when she's active. She has 3 phases. As soon as this guy spawns, make sure you get to him as a tank. He has a circle that only you need to stand in. It hits for high magic damage. I popped SI there and it didn't hurt me very much. It's not like super high magic damage, but it's meaningful. Such a slime. As soon as you phase her at 70%, I believe, she will go underground, and if that ad was still alive, he'll get up out of the pool and start mailing you. You'll see here, this new ad. Okay, I lied, she does not phase at 70. She phases at 60. So yeah, this ad becomes mobile once she goes under. And she spawns ads while this gauntlet of tentacles is going. So make sure you're trying to pick up threat on these ads. Tell your hunter or your rogue in your group to tricks if you have them as soon as the ads appear. And then tell your healer to be careful because they will probably naturally go to your healer because of healing aggro. So I'm dodging these tentacles as I go. You want to be in melee range like I was here right as she comes back up. She does 2 of those tentacle rotations and then she comes back for that phase. So try to just stay in melee range as best you can. Your friends don't die. This is basically the same as phase 1, just be on this spawn. You'll naturally avoid the tentacles if you just move to the spawn as the tank, so don't worry too much in this phase. Infectious Rain is a disease. It stacks up to 4 on the group. Can't see it on my UI right now because I'm not on my monk, but if I was on my monk, I would have dispelled one of the disease stacks for my healer. So I'm dodging 10Ds, this is the 2nd intermission. I'm getting threat on these guys so my healer doesn't die. There'll be another round of tentacles in just a second. Here they go. So I'm pretty close to the edge of it where it started, so I'm just going to get past it real quick. And they become lighter green as soon as they're about to slam, so you can tell where they're at in the rotation if you turn your camera around. This is the last phase. We decided to lust this. Infectious Rain is going. Every time it does damage, it applies another stack, so you can see like the 4 ticks. Once it reaches that last tick, people have 4 stacks. That's the optimal time to dispel. This tentacle rotation is important, so 1 tentacle just slammed right there, and then all the rest of the tentacles are going to slam at the same time after. So make sure you're close to this first tentacle, but not on it at first, and then just slide over as soon as it finishes going off like we do here. In addition, she spawns ads during that last phase, so this last phase is pretty intense. Like, she spawns ads, tentacles are slamming, she's doing Infectious Rain, there's a tank soak mechanic, all kinds of stuff going on. So be really careful about that. But yeah, that was all Plaguefall. If I missed anything big, be sure to let me know about it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.